Who's winning the great clash between the Wall Street big guys, the big money guys, and the Reddit little guys? This is all that people have been talking about, and it's a very important story for reasons I'm going to go into. But I can give you the result of round one. Wall Street 1, Reddit guys 0. And this is, by the way, not a surprise. In some sense, you could say the big guys usually get to stomp on the little guys. This is kind of the way of the world, unfortunately. But what makes this particular result surprising, I would say even shocking, even stunning, is the reason that the big guys beat the little guys. Not because they're stronger than the little guys, but because they rigged the system to shut down the little guys. They literally closed the market. That's what happened. That's why the little guys went down on the canvas. It's almost like the referee jumped in the ring and punched one of the boxers who was actually doing really well so that the other guy could jump up and down and say, I got the round, I got the round. Now, how does this really happen? Well, the trading site on which the Reddit guys were operating is Robinhood. It's called Robinhood. And essentially what happened is that these big brokers like TD Ameritrade and Schwab essentially restricted and shut down using the ability to buy through Robinhood. They intervened, and then Robinhood itself, the supposed site set up to protect the little investor, Robinhood itself says no more buying of AMC, no more buying of GameStop, no more buying of these other companies, no more driving their shares, their prices artificially up. We're going to shut you down. Wow. Robinhood, it literally becomes the sheriff of Nottingham. But why would Robinhood do this? Well, the answer, if you can believe a whistleblower, I'm going to read now what a whistleblower from Robinhood posted. I work for Robinhood. He goes, I'm a low-level tech guy. And he says the founder began to get calls from Sequoia Capital and the White House that pressured him into closing trading. This is a bombshell allegation. And you might think, well, why would the White House do this? Why would the Treasury Department, for example, get involved? How does this really all work behind the scenes? Well, the way it works behind the scenes is that these large hedge funds, the people who were losing billions because of the battle with Reddit, essentially what the Reddit people were doing is driving up the shares of these companies that had been shorted by the Wall Street big money. And when you bet that a stock is going to go down, when you think GameStop is going to go down, AMC is going to go down, and it goes up, you lose a lot of money. So these guys were losing a lot of money. But it turns out they had made a very careful investment in one Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary. I happen to have in my hand a list of all the speaking engagements of Janet Yellen, and I want to just read you some of them. I'm going to focus really on just one company, Citadel. So Citadel, in 2019, pays Janet Yellen a speaking fee of $157,000 to give a speech. And then a little bit later, they pay her $180,000 for another speech. And then a little later, for a couple of speeches in 2020, they pay her $337,000. And Janet Yellen's, this is like her speaking list. Goldman Sachs, $67,000. City National Bank, $112,000. Now, wow. I give speeches for a living. I get paid a pretty handsome fee, but nothing close to this. What does Janet Yellen have to say? What could she possibly put in her speech that's worth over $100,000? Well, the answer is nothing. The reason that these companies do this is they're buying future access to Janet Yellen. They feel that she's one of the key people who could end up the Biden Treasury Secretary, and then she's going to return their calls. And when things get a little rough on the street, calls can be made. Hey, Janet, aren't you going to come through for us this time? Aren't we the reason you were able to pay off your mortgage and take that European vacation and own that private plane and this and that? This is how it works, guys. Let's not be naive about it. So anyone who thinks that Janet Yellen is being paid because she's an amazing speaker, her jokes are unbelievable, was born yesterday, let's just say. Now, here's the broader point I want to make from all this. And it's a very disturbing tendency on the part of the left, and we need to be aware of it. And that is that when the left is losing, when they're losing the debate, what do? They cut off your ability to communicate. They shut you down on digital media. They try to restrict you, throw you off the mainstream media. When the left is losing in the market, they say, let's shut down the market. Let's close down the market. Let's stop trading, at least for a little while, until we can regroup, until the big guys can kind of get their wind back, having been punched in the stomach. Let's get the system, the government, to weigh in on our behalf. Let's get these digital companies. And by the way, some of these digital companies like Facebook and so on have been restricting negative reviews on Robinhood because obviously people are very angry. You may almost say Robinhood's troops are rebelling against Robinhood because Robinhood has turned out to be in league with the sheriff. It's very sickening. And so they shut you down by cutting off your means of communication, your means of speaking, your means of trade. And the reason this is so pernicious is because if you think about it, our rights, our basic rights are meaningless if we don't have the means to exercise them. Let's say that you have a right to go to church, which we do. It's right there in the Constitution. And then the left says, no, but we're in a national lockdown. Everybody's confined to their homes. Well, the right to go to church becomes meaningless. You can't go. Yeah, you can worship at home, but if you believe church is a communal activity, you worship in a group in church, then you can't do that. They've cut off that right. Let's say you have a right to assemble, but they say, well, you can't use the public roads. You can't get to the assembly. Well, that right is completely meaningless. You have the right to free speech, but in the public square, which is now, of course, driven by technology, by digital platforms, they're going to throw you off the platforms because they own the platforms. Effectively, you're cut off from participating in democratic debate because that's where it occurs. It's kind of like the ancient Greeks saying, we're going to be debating this in the agora, but we're going to prevent you from getting to the agora. So yeah, you have the right to speak. You just can't get to where you need to be in order to speak. Now, the worst thing of all is that these pathetic people, these leftists in government and also in the private sector, and you hear this from digital moguls and you hear it from Wall Street pompous types, we're doing it for your own good. We're doing it for your own good. Really? They're pretending like they're doing it to protect the little Reddit guy. Oh, that guy doesn't realize that companies like AMC and GameStop aren't worth that much. They're paying way too much. We got to stop them before they hurt themselves. That's the stated motive, but that's not the real motive. The real motive is let's stop them because they're actually making money and we're losing a whole bunch of money. We have to stop them so we can get our act in order, so we can get out in time, so we can save our yachts and our mansions and our private domestic staff. Lincoln once said that, and he was talking in the context of the planter class, he said that these are wolves disguised as shepherds. They pretend to be looking out for the lamb. But of course, they're not looking out for the lamb. They're looking out, in Lincoln's words, they're only paying attention to their own greedy maws, their own greedy mouths, feeding themselves at the expense of the lamb. That's their game. And it's a sickening game. Maybe it's the law of nature, but it's a bit hard to take when the wolf says, I'm not doing it for me, little lamb. I'm doing it for you.